Yo, what's poppin', guys? We're back. Hope you guys enjoyed the previous video. I apologize for my energy in this video because my energy levels are incredibly low. Haven't eaten yet. I don't know why, I'll be honest with you, but don't worry, we will still get through this. We will still finish these videos up. Just want you guys to understand, I may not be as enthusiastic as I would like to be, as I naturally am, purely because of the energy levels. Anyway, let's get into the point of this video. So in this video, we're going to be talking about storyline understanding number 1, operation of time frames. Now, I teased this on my Telegram channel. I told you guys that just understanding how to identify the start and the potential end of a storyline is not enough at all. You need to understand how how you can take advantage of the storylines in each of these trades. That is when you fully unlock, or at least come close to unlocking, your full potential with storyline, or at least the full potential of a storyline. Okay, so what do I mean? First of all, I'm going to get straight into the point. What do I mean by the operation of a time frame? Operation simply means the storyline of each time frame. It's just a fancy way for me to say storyline of each time frame. Now, before you guys get confused, and for new viewers out here, I have released up to, I think, 4 videos so far. 4 videos so far about support and resistance, aka the topic we're talking about in this video. And in this video, I'm going to show you, I'm just trying to tell you guys, I kind of lost my train of thought there, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just going to show you guys exactly how you can be flexible. The key word when you're using SNR, the key word when you're trading SMC, what's Michael J. Heddle's thing, ICT, all these things, the key word is to be flexible. You have to be flexible, okay, with these charts. And that is how you see me take sell trades, buy trades, sell trades, buy trades. You could have a monthly bearish storyline, a weekly bearish storyline, but you'll see me on my chart buying on the daily still. Why? How do I understand these things? So this video is going to be long. I am going to come up with follow-up videos to this because this is an incredibly complex topic to talk about, and it requires a lot of examples so that it is drilled into your minds. If you guys pick up on this easily and quickly, all props to you, more power to you. But for me, it took me a long time to properly understand this. And the reason why it took a long time for me to properly understand this is because nobody taught me this. I had 7 mentors, not a single one of them taught me how to understand this kind of way. I came up with it, I wouldn't say I came up with it, but I observed it by myself. I observed this phenomenon by myself. So okay, I'm going to get straight into it. What exactly is the operation of a time frame? So you can have a monthly bearish, weekly bearish, but the daily be bullish at that moment in time. And the reason why you see these huge sell-offs, these huge buys, these sell-offs, right? 600,000 pips, these big ones, is because all 3 higher time frames are in tandem. Or in other words, they're working together, they're on the same page, they're in the same storyline. It can even just be just like that, and then you'll see a huge drop, right? So that means, for example, monthly bearish, weekly bearish, daily bearish, and then you'll see it just sell and sell and sell until it comes to the highest time frames obstacle. So let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. Let's assume we have ourselves a monthly bearish confirmed, right? So if you're looking at this, and I'll explain this in just a second. Let me just get the topic of the video out of the way so that impatient individuals don't say that I'm not getting to the point of the video. So here we have ourselves a completely fresh monthly SNR. What type of SNR is this? Open close, right? So we have ourselves the first touch, okay, in which monthly reject monthly, but weekly never broke out. We have ourselves the second touch in this big long candle. And then we do actually have over here, in this case, after the third touch, of course, we have ourselves the, you see this third candle, once that, by that time already we have the weekly bearish breakout. So now we have ourselves the monthly being in bearish, and we had ourselves weekly being in bearish over here as well. Weekly was actually never bullish. We had ourselves the weekly being bearish over here too. Why is this weekly bearish? So we already know that the monthly is bearish, right? Monthly reject monthly. Over here, we have ourselves the weekly breakout, and then we also, over here, we can see during that entire process, the weekly was bearish too. How do we know that? Simple, buy, sell, resistance, weekly reject weekly, and of course we hit to the daily. We see we had ourselves a daily breakout right up here. Okay, if you didn't see that, no problem. Sell, buy creates a support, and then that support breaks. Okay, so we had ourselves a weekly reject weekly in here, daily bearish breakout, confirming a weekly bearish storyline, and then of course we had also the monthly reject monthly right here, and then the weekly bearish breakout. So now we have ourselves weekly monthly and weekly in tandem working together, right? And of course it's pretty natural for me to conclude, even without looking at anything, that the daily is probably bearish as well, right? If you were to look at the current state of affairs, right, the daily is bearish. We have ourselves our daily reject daily, one of these guys. H4 obviously broke out. I don't even want to go into H4, but sure, let's just do it. I don't want to waste anyone's time. Of course, H4 broke out. So that's why we have these huge spills of price, 1,000 pips almost, right? Huge spills of price, right? So the weekly actually turned on over here, and after that, after this weekly break, we had daily turn. So the lower time frames start the storyline first, and then the higher time frames ended off. So if you were to observe over here, before the monthly actually confirmed bearish, daily came into contact. Daily turned bearish first for the storyline, and then this was the infamous break, right? The weekly break, and then the weekly broke, thus confirming the monthly bearish storyline. Okay, so the daily started the bearish storyline first. The weekly then, as a result of the daily, started the bearish storyline or broke out, and because of that breakout, the monthly came off. Now don't worry about which order of affairs, that none of that goes on in my head. I don't care about any of that in my head. What I do care about in my head is very, very simple. Okay, how do I use the operation of each time frame to my advantage? Now I'm going to answer that question, and then I'm going to get into some of you guys who asked a very repetitive question, but it's a good question, so I don't blame you guys. Avi, you say this is fresh, but then it's touched once over here, it's touched twice, it's touched thrice. Like how do I know which one is fresh, which one's not fresh? We'll get into that in just a second. Very important question, and I want to clear it up in this video so that it's never asked again, so that you guys can understand it well. So we'll cover that second. First thing is, how did I understand this? So what I did, first of all, I knew that I could not confirm a monthly bearish storyline as of yet. So I took the entry from this sell, this third candle, and I couldn't confirm the monthly bearish, and I'll tell you why I couldn't confirm the monthly bearish. Monthly rejected monthly, but as of this time, right here, as of this time, the charts were like this. See on my right hand side, as of this time, the charts were like this. There was no weekly break. This didn't break. Here from the top sell, it didn't break this one here. The sell buy, this from the top didn't break this. So how can I say, if there's no weekly bearish breakout, how can I say confidently that monthly is in a bearish storyline? I can't say that. So I have to ignore, I'm forced to ignore the monthly storyline. See, this is what I mean by flexibility. I went to the monthly, and what was I looking for? I was looking for a monthly bearish storyline. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, I cannot confirm that there's a monthly bearish storyline. Okay, no problem. Move on. What's the next best thing I can do? Let's go and take a look at the weekly. I can confirm that there's a weekly bearish storyline. How can I do that? Weekly reject weekly. Daily breakout. Daily breakout where? What's the traditional SNR that formed the high? This one, sell buy. Support. Does it matter if the breakout is of a fresh or unfresh zone? No, the breakout just needs to be, there just needs to be a breakout of a traditional SNR. In this case, we're looking at sell, so sell buy, create support. We're looking for a support break. This is the support, not open close, not open close. It's not strong enough, simply not strong enough. I'm sorry to say this to all you other guys out there who follow other methods. It's simply not strong enough. So anyway, we can understand, although we unfortunately cannot confirm that there is a monthly bearish storyline, we can confirm that there is a weekly bearish storyline. So as a result of this, what has been created? Okay, what did I tell you about storylines? What I told you about storylines, let's assume we're dealing with the weekly right now, correct? If there's a weekly bearish storyline, what time frame will you find the entries, and what time frame will you find the obstacles? The answer to that question is very simple. Right now, we have ourselves a weekly bearish storyline, correct? As I told you, and as I proved to you. If we have a weekly bearish storyline, we will enter from daily resistances. But if there is a weekly new resistance, that will be even better. So let me rephrase it to you guys. If we have a weekly bearish storyline, and let's say as a result of the weekly bearish storyline starting, correct? As a result of the weekly bearish storyline starting, we also have, instead of just a bunch of daily fresh resistances, we also have a new weekly resistance that is formed. Then obviously it will be best to pay attention to the weekly resistance, right? And the dailies that are within it. Why? Because of the second video that I uploaded. MTF. So that we can MTF the weekly together with a bunch of the dailies. And then that begs the question, but Avi, as you said in your own words, we have a bunch of dailies. How do we know which one in this big wick or which one inside this weekly resistance to choose? And that, my friends, is what we cover in the operation of timeframes today. Which one is highest probability to choose? What signs are we looking for? Very, very simple. I mean, the easy one is just trend line, right? You just draw a trend line from the weekly or from the daily, and you see which which daily MTF weekly is in line with that one, and then that's probably going to be the one that's one very easy shortcut. But it's not enough. Is it enough? No, it's not enough. You can't just draw a random trend line. It's subjective. You need to also look at some rules. So let me tell you exactly what. Weekly rejected weekly. And what is weekly created? Very conveniently, we have a weekly new resistance. Okay, so if, for example, during this time price was like this, weekly reject weekly, just at that moment in time, let's go and see what we have on the lower time frame first, just to clear your doubts. You see, on the lower time frame, we cannot even say at this moment in time that the weekly is a bearish storyline. Why? Don't get confused. Follow with me. Slow the speed if you want. Weekly rejected weekly in this candle, am I right? But unfortunately, again, go and watch the first video that I've uploaded, if I'm not wrong, first or second video that I've uploaded. Sorry, this one. Go and check out the third video, identifying start. What is the preferred start to a storyline? If weekly reject weekly, and as a result of that rejection, we have a daily breakout. Unfortunately, this was not the case. We don't have, as a result of the rejection, a daily breakout. But the second option is later on, during the process, later in the coming days, in the coming weeks, we have ourselves a daily breakout that will still confirm a weekly bearish storyline. So in this case, as a result of the weekly reject weekly, unfortunately, we don't have ourselves a daily bearish breakout. This is not considered a breakout. We want this one. Okay, we don't have that, unfortunately. Okay, but in the coming days, so in the next week, actually, the following week, we did indeed have ourselves that breakout. You see, this is the next week, correct? So everything before this big black candle, the big black candle, focus on it. You can see, in the second week we do have ourselves the break. Okay, so now we know what do we know? We know weeklies and bearish storyline. So in the weekly, as a result of the weekly bearish storyline, we have this. Okay, inside the weekly we have a bunch of dailies. Am I right? We have a bunch of dailies. So apologies for this. Let me go and draw this up. Okay, let's go daily again. Alright. So as a result of the weekly, we have ourselves a daily. As I said, just because we have a daily exactly in the same spot as the weekly does not mean it's any higher probability than any of these other guys. Doesn't necessarily mean so, right? Sell buy, that is a support, gets broken, becomes resistance, and then of course we have the buy sell is just a support, very simple, very easy one right here. Okay, now which one do we choose? First of all, we already should know why we don't choose this open close area. Here's an area to sell, by the way, if you're wondering. This is it's not even an open close, it's just blatantly traditional SNR. Buy, sell candle, fresh, right? First of all, you should know why this is not too high probability. Yes, you can see it got a reaction, but why it's not too high probability? The reason why it's not too high probability is because we already have ourselves the weekly reject weekly, and we have that point of origin. This is very important, guys. It's a very important phenomenon for any reversal. You'll see it here. You may see it here, right? You may see it down in here. This was a monthly setup. You may see it down here. When price reverses from large sells on the higher time frame, so let me rephrase that. When price wants to reverse from large sells, large buys on the higher time frames, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, price usually will come back to extreme points before finally going. And as I said, there's multiple examples of this here, right? This was a monthly, which is why it took many weeks to come back. As you can see over here, you can see that phenomenon over here, right? You can see that phenomenon down in here. You see there's a big buy, and before it reverses, right, it comes back to that, you know, why did it reverse? First of all, why is it reversing? Because weekly reject weekly, correct? And then as a result, there's a weekly bearish resistance. It comes back to extremes. It ignores these ones halfway. So this is what people mean. Like Aleph Awang last time, he used to be very popular. He used to say missed, deep, accurate, right? MDA. Price missed here, right? This is an example of missed, right? Deep would be something like this. This would be an example of deep. And here we have weekly, we have daily inside, and inside the daily we have H4. This is deep. It goes inside, right? And accurate, it's just like this. Accurate is just something like this. This would be something like accurate, right? And then we have something like miss, where price just missed it, and then price will come back deep. You see, missed, deep, you know, and accurate is just when it just comes back, boom, just comes back and goes. Anyway, don't worry about that. I'm just trying to answer some of you guys' questions in the comment section. So we have ourselves over here the the weekly area. So we know we want to enter in here, right? Weekly reject weekly. We just go to daily, but then very conveniently for us, the weekly itself gives us a resistance. That's a key word here for you to understand. It's very conveniently for us. Inside this weekly, we have a bunch of dailies. All we need to do is to understand that when we have multiple time frames, what's the definition of multiple? More than one. When we have multiple time frames in the same storyline with another time frame, that's where big moves happen. So for example, if we have weekly bearish but daily bullish, you'll see price move sluggishly. If we have weekly bearish but daily turns bearish as well from bullish, that's where we see changes start to happen. So what happened here? Weekly is bearish, but in the middle here somewhere, daily started to project up. Daily started to go. Obviously, there's some daily bullish storyline that happens in here, right? Obviously, there's no question about it. Does this one even touch? Okay, so that means daily would have started around here. Doesn't matter, but anyway, daily would have started around here, right? Left shoulder. This is unfresh already because price moved off. Daily reject daily. H4 broke out here. You see? H4 broke out here. So to answer your question earlier, right, about that zone, which one do we know is high probability or whatever, right? How do we know this one is? This is a left shoulder, correct? So if you really look at this, this is a left shoulder. How do we know which one is fresh and unfresh? This is fresh right here. This is fresh. Price touches this, you can say, oh, it's unfresh. No, you cannot. You have to first see, when price touched this zone, did price confirm a storyline? So this is a daily zone. This is a daily zone. There's no question, right? This is a daily zone. Okay. So when price come here, did price confirm daily bullish storyline? Let's see. Daily reject daily. H4 bullish breakout. So now we can say, oh, this is a zone that's unfresh. So when price comes back in here, you cannot use the zone again. In my opinion, we cannot use the zone again. Okay. So similarly over here, right? We have monthly over here. We have this zone here. The first candle, price touches, monthly reject monthly. Weekly didn't break out. Weekly just created a new resistance, right? So that's what I wanted to say. Anyway, so yeah, coming back to this weekly reject weekly daily, right? What do we do? What is this operation of time frames? All we need is what? What do we need? Guys, what do we need? What did I say just now about 2 or more time frames being in tandem together? If weekly is bearish storyline but daily is bullish, what are we looking for? What are we looking for the daily to do so that we can expect a nice big sell? Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we can expect. What do we need? Weekly is already bearish, but daily is bullish. What do we need daily to do? In case you're wondering, that was my chai, but the chai is not working. I'm not fasting, by the way. A lot of people think I'm fasting. I'm not Muslim. All power to you guys, though. All blessings to you guys. You guys are going to get through this 100%. I'm on a very strict diet, but yeah, it's taking a toll a bit. Anyway, yeah, more power to you guys. What is going on here? Daily, on the daily. We need to see weekly bearish storyline. Daily also turn bearish. That's all we need to see. And the significance of this area is because of the weekly higher time frame zone. So once price makes its way inside here, doesn't matter which, we just want to know where does price do a daily reject daily and a H4 bearish breakout. That's it, bro. That is the entire topic of today's video. Operation of time frames. So sometimes people say, oh, the weekly still needs to finish its operation. What does that mean? What do people mean the weekly still needs to finish its operation? Or when people say the daily still needs to complete its operation for the weekly, what does that mean? It's just this. It's just this. Weekly reject weekly, and we create a weekly resistance. So that becomes our focal point, right? We're focusing there because that's like a really nice one. You know, always traditional SNR is always better than open close. The same way traditional SNR break is always better than open close break. Doesn't mean we don't use either one. It's up to you. I'm just telling you my rules, what I do, because I'm teaching on my channel, right? So over here, we're just waiting for daily, to start a bearish storyline. That's it. Why? So that we can say, oh, weekly is bearish storyline, and daily has started bearish as well. That's it, man. So weekly is in here, weekly reject weekly. We know weekly bearish storyline, we know what? Weekly bearish storyline, we know what? Enter from daily, correct? That's it, man. But we don't know which one. We just need to confirm which one, or to highly expect which one is going to react from. Which we don't know this one, we don't know down here, whatever. which one starts the daily bearish storyline. That's it. So in this case, it's very convenient for us. All three get tapped. Okay, that's easy. That's convenient. So then we just do, after the daily is over, right? After this daily is over, daily reject daily. Just go down here, break. That's it. So now we know, okay, daily reject daily H4 break. Now we know, oh, okay, daily bearish storyline has started, as well as weekly bearish storyline. Weekly bearish storyline has started, and now daily bearish storyline has started with the weekly. That's it. And now we can enter from the dailies. We can enter from the weeklies, whatever you want to talk about. And we can enter from the H4s. We can enter a trade from the H4. Why? Because we're entering the H4 based on the daily bearish storyline. That's the operation of time frames. It's incredibly confusing to understand, I know, but it's the most powerful thing. That's how I can take buys, sells, multiple buys. I can buy against the trend. I don't care, because I have confidence in when price should probably switch. Probably doesn't mean I'm always right. I've been wrong. I've taken L's. Many L's I've taken, right? But to get to a certain level, you have to take L's so that you can understand what to filter out, what to get rid of. Okay. So weekly was bearish, and I'm confused which daily. I don't know to wait here. I don't know to take this, because this is the best one, right? It looks so beautiful. It's so clean. It's just there, isolated, right? Like me in my house drinking my chai, right? I don't know which one. So I wait at these guys. These are the high probability dailies. This one's not high probability. Why? Not because it's open close, but simply because there's a weekly right above it. Okay, so I'm probably going to pay attention to this one. But in here we have 1, 2, 3. Which one do I pay attention to? This open close has already been tapped, so we ignore that. Then there's the last resort up here, right? The most extreme area. So price comes in here, and we're just going to wait. Which one does the daily reject daily? After the daily reject daily, we need to confirm the storyline, so we go to H4. And we see that H4 has itself a break. If H4 has itself a break, what does that mean? That means at this point, daily join weekly in bearish. That's it. At this point, the daily join weekly in the bearish storyline. And so what does that mean? That means that we can enter from H4s, although I don't personally like doing that, but according to the rules, you absolutely can. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't like to do it, but according to the rules, nothing wrong whatsoever. So at this point, daily joined weekly in the bearish storyline. Okay, and that means that weekly and daily are bearish. Now all we're waiting for is for the monthly. That doesn't mean we don't enter any trades and we just wait weeks after weeks. No, I'm just saying that if you want to wait for a big move, wait for the monthly. You can see how it sells and sells and sells, right? That's how you get that major bias, that macro bias, right? But that's not as important as actually applying what I'm teaching you guys. So I know it seems a little bit unclear in this video what I'm talking about, but I'm going to be talking about it multiple times in future videos. Weekly reject weekly. Weekly bearish storyline has started. Okay, daily breakout. We have ourselves a high probability area which just nests, right? Nests or collects, has in its collection a bunch of dailies. 1 daily, 2 daily, 3, 4 dailies. Okay, which one do I choose? Simply wait, because we're dealing with daily zones, right? We don't know which daily zone to enter a sell from, correct? So we're just waiting for which one we can take a sell from based on a storyline. Now guys, what's another way? So this is a bit of a test. I'm testing you guys on what I talked about in my previous video. What's another way you can enter? What's a high risk way you can enter? Because these are all things I do. I can't say which one's better. Oh, never do high risk entries, only do storyline. No, I can't say that, because I do both. Never go counter trend. Never, if we have a weekly bearish, buy from a daily obstacle. No, I do that. I do that all the time. So I can't say what to do and what not to do. I'm telling you, I do it all. But the only reason I can do it all is because I understand the whole picture very fluently. I have been wrong. Still, I have been wrong. But I understand it very well, and so my win rate's higher. Okay, and I'm very flexible with it. So what's the high risk way of entering? The high risk way of entering is to pick, there are 3 zones, right? Pick only 2 and then refine from there. So let's say we have these 2 dailies, right? So this is the early entry. So let's say you don't want to wait. Let's say you don't want to wait for the daily storyline, or you want to enter a trade first in anticipation that later the daily storyline starts, right? Remember the anticipation trades? Okay, so inside this we have 1, 2, 3 zones and 4, but we only pick 2 here, and then maybe we just pick 1 in here. So let's say there's 2. So instead of waiting for a daily reject daily, we go to our H4. So from daily, we're going to try and refine this. So from daily, we see, is there any H4 fresh? No H4 fresh. Here we have ourselves a left shoulder, okay? And above here, we have ourselves something else. Just going to mark that, just going to keep that in mind, right? Very, very unclear PA. No worries, no problem, right? Here you can see over here, do we have anything fresh? This is the daily, right? This H1 is below the daily. Okay, that's not a refinement. This is a H1 that's already been tested. Okay, fine, no problem. And then above here is what is this zone again? This was the second daily, right? So we know in this first daily there's absolutely nothing. This is the first daily, this is the second daily. In this first daily, there's nothing on the H4 that's fresh, there's nothing on the H1 that's fresh. Okay, fine, no worries. Here's the second daily. The second daily, do we have anything fresh? We have ourselves a H1 that's fresh, and that's about it. We don't have anything else really that is fresh. We do have ourselves a left shoulder right here. We do have ourselves a left shoulder. Okay, so let's just say you wanted to take it from this level. I didn't see that, to be honest with you. I'm only saying this in hindsight, but let's just assume that you did see it. Let's just assume. So you took a trade from there. Okay, let's just assume, and you took a trade from there. No problem. Okay, this is a left shoulder. All right, so if you want to look at this from here, you can see that why that's a left shoulder. You can see it very clearly. Okay, so let's assume you were to take that trade. This is within daily. Okay, so even if you find a small little zone in here on the H1, that's still a H1 multi-time frame with the daily, which is multi-time frame with the weekly. You see what I'm trying to say? So anyway, let's say you took this trade, and then after you took this trade, okay, so after you took this trade, the daily rejects daily, and then the H4 breaks out as well. Daily rejects daily, the H4 breaks out. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? You are going to play H4s or dailies and ride that weekly bearish storyline. Because why? Why can you ride the weekly bearish storyline on a H4 and on a daily? Well, on a daily it's fine because weekly bearish, but why can you ride a H4? Why can you ride a weekly bearish storyline on a H4? Because the daily has turned bearish. In accordance with the weekly. So now you know that out of all these zones, this particular daily is giving you the highest probability that it's going to continue selling off from. Going to continue and hold and sell. You know what I mean by the zone holding? Right? The zone is going to continue holding. Okay? And so I took one of the trades over here. By the way, if I see multiple comments in the comment section, obviously, telling me that, oh, Avi, I want to see proof of your trades. I want to see proof that you actually took these trades. I will make an entire, I'm that petty, bro, and I'll do it. I'll make an entire video just showing you guys the entries of, and you know, showing you that I walk the walk as well. Okay, and that I walk the walk as well. And I don't take that as like an arrogant thing. You guys genuinely want to see, you guys genuinely doubt that I took these entries. No problem, absolutely no problem. I will take the time out of my day to source those screenshots and show you guys. It's all in AKFX anyway, so if you find it, you find it. But if you don't, I'll show you guys, no worries. I'm very proud of them because this is not something easy to do. You have to understand, when I first started, I was doing such simple things. Before you guys also type in the comment section, Avi, you're talking about unrelated things. I've just taught you the entire title of the video. Okay, operation of time frame simply is an understanding of anticipation trades or trades after the storyline has started on a time frame that is way lower than the higher time frame. Right? We figured out that we couldn't deal with the monthly. So why couldn't we deal with the monthly? Because weekly had not broken out yet. See the weekly hadn't broken out here. It only broke out here. Just like how many? Like maybe 2 months plus. Right? The weekly had only broken out here. And because we couldn't deal with the monthly, we dealt with the weekly, the second best thing. Oh, we can deal with the weekly because it's clear. Weekly reject weekly, daily bearish break. And then, because we don't understand or we don't know which one of these dailies price is going to react from, we used the operation of time frames. Firstly, we understood that we have ourselves a high probability zone, a weekly traditional SNR. Within this weekly traditional SNR, we have ourselves a bunch of dailies. Now we're going to use this skill, right, the operation of time frames, to understand which area within the weekly is going to actually react from. So we know we have ourselves a daily reject daily of any one of these. Anyway, the whole wick just took up all 4 of these. So 1, 2, 3, all 3 of these. So that's cool. And then daily just started a bearish time. Daily just started a bearish thing anyway. So yeah, my second entry was this actually. No. My second entry was on the H4. So that was my first entry, right? Up here if I'm not wrong. And my second entry, if I remember correctly, was this. And then my third entry was here. So I'll show you that too. And I'll tell you exactly why. Okay, so the first entry, you know, it's just an early entry that's very like small lot size. You have to be smart, you can't be arrogant. It's a small lot size. Why? Because I haven't even confirmed that the daily is agreeing with the weekly. What if the daily just goes like this? Zoop, goes up, and then in here somewhere, like, price turns up. Or in the case of what just happened very recently, in fact, in the case of what happened here, price just goes. Price just freaking goes. Just goes up. See, there was no reaction, nothing. Right? If you were to look at this again, look at this one, beautiful one here. So if we were to get that, right? Correct? Okay, you know I meant to actually put it like that, right? Okay, here, weekly reject weekly, correct? Daily, oh wow, daily breakout, guys. I'm so excited. Look at this, guys. I'm gonna make so much money. I'm gonna put the open close here, left shoulder, this one. Oh, okay. Avi said if you have 2 or more, just pick 2. Okay, we're gonna pick these 2 zones, guys. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna be rich. FTMO. I've just lost my 16th FTMO. Blah blah. I'm not making fun of you. I know who you are in the comments. I'm not making fun of you. It's just think about what I'm saying. How can you just take a sell straight away? It's going to be high risk. You need to wait for the daily reject daily, correct? Of course you need to wait for that. Of course you need to. You know, so. Otherwise, price can just go. You can't say, because the monthly is bullish. This weekly sell, we're anticipating that monthly turns bearish, but the monthly is turned bullish over here. This weekly sell is based on an obstacle. We need to wait for the daily to reject daily as well. This is the operation of time frames, my friend. Weekly is bearish, monthly is bullish. Okay, we need to wait for a confirmation that there's 2 time frames in tandem, 1 time frame or 2 time frames in tandem. And then we can conclude what we can conclude, and why we have this big uprise. Why? Because we have monthly bearish, we have monthly bullish, we have weekly bullish. Okay, so if you don't consider this one weekly, okay, no problem, no worries, maybe you didn't see it, right? Okay, here at least, sell by, weekly support, correct, weekly support, and daily breaks out here. Wait, hold on. Yeah, correct, because this is the so this is the weekly support, and this was the, in this case, this was the high that formed the low that tapped into weekly. So if you want to say weekly reject weekly and daily breakout, this would be the daily breakout right here. There would be the confirmation, because this is the structure that formed this. Okay, so again, don't get confused. If we consider this to be the weekly, then we have weekly reject weekly, correct? And then it's just very clear and obvious that's the breakout, right? This is the high that formed the low that tapped into weekly, so weekly reject weekly. This is going to be the traditional SNR that gets broken. But let's say you missed that because you're not very observant. No problem. We have ourselves sell by, that's the weekly. Now we're just going to be looking for which is the traditional SNR resistance that caused price to go down and touch into that new weekly traditional SNR. That would be the one we want to see break. Once that's broken, okay, we can say monthly is bearish, weekly is bearish, and then daily, we're just going to wait for daily to become monthly is bullish, weekly is bullish. We're just going to wait for daily to be bullish. But over here, you can already observe that daily is bullish too. Right in here, daily support, daily reject daily, and we're just going to look for a H4 break. In this case, it's nothing. In this case, it's nothing until here. H4 break, just like that. So this is what I mean by being flexible. Not everything is going to be just picture perfect. Oh, breakout, right? Not everything is going to be picture perfect. Sometimes you have things like this, right? And the daily comes back inside, or the daily comes back inside like this, and taps into here. This would still be the break, right? Or maybe it's just straight up, it just goes, right? Then this would obviously be the break. You would have to consider this to be the break. This would be the part that you missed in this case here. So don't confuse yourself. The topic of this video is very simple. Understand the operation of time frames. Why? How do we choose which area? Which area do we choose? Kind of thing. Okay. And weekly reject weekly. We have a bunch of dailies. How do we choose the daily? Okay. Yeah, pretty much that's it. How do you choose the daily? So I took that daily reject daily. Then I know I can play from H4s. I can play from H4s because it's a daily bearish storyline. So we had a bunch of stuff over here. Left shoulder, right? I don't know if there was like a trend line or something we could use. Maybe not. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, that was one. It's right there. Okay, I missed it. Maybe there was a trend line we can use, like this one. Okay, H4 left shoulder. We have ourselves a trend line we can take up. Okay, interesting. What else? Oh yeah, this was another entry. Why was this the other entry? Because this is a left shoulder, creation of left shoulder, right? Boom, 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 just like that. And then price comes, touches, and goes like this. So yeah, man, that's it. Sells off, and we're playing dailies in this case. In this case, that was a daily, and we are paying attention after that to the sign of break on this area. And so inside here, all we're looking for, because we can't be looking for weeklies in here, we can be, but it's going to take a long time. Sometimes price rejects on the weekly and just flies up. So we got to pay attention to the dailies. What's happening on the dailies? Oh, okay. Anything fresh in here that we need to pay attention. This is not fresh, that's not fresh, these two aren't fresh. This was a left shoulder, that's also not fresh. We have this one. We have this one. Okay, let's pay attention. So we have this one that gets rejected first. This could be a daily obstacle in relation to the weekly, because still, until we get that weekly break, we can't say that we have a monthly bearish. If you have a monthly bearish storyline, none of your dailies are going to give a damn about it. I promise you, if you have a monthly bearish storyline and your daily is bullish, no one's going to give a damn about it. Okay, it's just going to sell. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the case. So yeah, let's go and see. Any H4 breakout? Probably not, man. Yeah, nothing. It's not even a new support being created. So yeah, once that weekly breaks, all hell breaks loose. You know, you should be looking for weekly reject weeklies, daily reject dailies, and then you can write that out in the same trend with the monthly. You see, and yeah, over here was from the left shoulder, because we broke right here. See, we broke. This was the left shoulder. Go to the daily. See from in here. That's about it, man. That's the entire thing about the operation of time frames. Now, if this video was unclear to you guys, because I do feel like I went a bit too much with the examples again, but again, I don't really care about that, because I'm meant to showcase to you guys. What I'm meant to do is this. I'm meant to give you guys your answer to the title of this video. I'm meant to teach you guys that, and then I'm meant to go on a rant about what goes on in my head when I see the charts. That's the entire point of that's the entire style. So if you guys are saying, oh Avi, I'm just here to learn what's in the title, well, I've already given you that. Now after that, I can have the next 20 minutes to talk about whatever the hell I want. Okay, so yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, as a summary, the operation of time frames is very simple. We want to understand that the more time frames, the more higher time frames we have in the same storyline, the bigger the movement is going to be. So if you have a monthly bearish storyline but the weekly is still bullish, you want to wait for the weekly to be bearish. Or maybe you have let's use something that's a bit more realistic or on a smaller time frame. Let's say you have a monthly bearish and a weekly bearish, right? So we're going to be paying attention to the weekly resistances, because the weekly resistances is what's going to move in terms of the monthly bearish storyline. So which weekly do we look for? We look for like 2 weeklies, 3 weeklies that there are inside there. And what do? We wait for there to be a weekly reject weekly and a daily bearish breakout, so that we know exactly which weekly it's going to be higher probability for us to play a trade from. Same case with this. Okay, that's the entire deal, man. That is the entire deal. That you guys should just a little tip, you guys should backtest what happens after here. I'll talk about it in the next video, but backtest what happens over here. This entry, ignore this one, but pay attention to after it breaks, how you can take advantage of that. What's the storyline in this whole segment down here? What's the storyline, right? And then pay attention, what's the storyline in this whole segment up in here? So if you wanna practice, not trade. What do you call this thing? Backtest these two. This little V in here. Beautiful price action. I took everything. It's fantastic, beautiful. Had to take profit a bit early on some of them, but beautiful, beautiful trades. Anyway, see you guys in the next video, man. Peace out.